Hello everyone and welcome to One Teacher, One Scientist chat room. Today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Alka Tomar, a noted environmentalist who's been working wonders in preserving the biodiversity of our country. Welcome to the chat room, Alka.
Hi, good morning Vaishali and good morning everybody.
It's such a pleasure to have you on our chat room. Alka, biodiversity is something that is so very important, and India is so rich in its biodiversity. What has been your journey in conservation of biodiversity in the country?
Vaishali, it has been for me now almost 30 years. 30 years of experience, 30 years of working and talking about environment. So when I started my academics and especially my career, I never thought environment is going to be one of my passion. So I was a regular student, very ordinary student in terms of studying the regular usual subjects. But when I got chance to opt for bachelor's in environmental sciences and master's in environmental, I said okay, but yet there were none and nobody was a kind of a taker for the subject. And it was very difficult at that point of time to find the avenues and opportunities. But I think look at that time in 90s and now here in we're sitting in 2020, it is the one of the very important subject. And in all this so many years, the range of subjects that I have touched upon, either worked with partners, collaborators, or with range of stakeholders, has been amazing. We have worked on biodiversity. I'll take one aspect altogether because environment is so huge when you really get into the subject. So when we started, it was more about air pollution, vehicular pollution, biomedical waste management was one thing that we started, drafting the regulations or doing the research. Actually, this is the issue. But slowly, water sanitation hygiene was another issue that was looked upon in one of our projects. But yes, biodiversity, as you're specifically pointing it out, is very fascinating. I think until you get into it, until you understand the diversity of the diversity of actually biodiversity, it is, you really can't appreciate it. I think that's one of the very important aspects. That's what over the years, by traveling to different villages, different biodiversity hotspots, different wildlife national parks, you've seen so much and you wonder, oh God, how lucky people who are staying around it. And how not so lucky we are that we do not get to see it or be part of the nature that often.
Absolutely. So, somewhere I feel children, when we come to school education, children learn about biodiversity, they're learning about habitat, they're learning about species, but somewhere that disconnect is there. I feel it just remains like a chapter in the textbook. So how do you see children when you get them as interns after school or after college? Do you feel that there are certain skills that are missing in these children? There is a gap in the schooling and the real world?
I think another very important point that you're trying to raise here, so you know the history, how environmental education came into existence, how we all are now talking about environmental education because of the Supreme Court directive where they said, okay, environmental education has to be part of the curriculum. Yet, I think we have a long way to go. When I'm saying we have a long way to go, what I'm trying to bring together here is, we have, through formal education, we have mainstreamed environment in the, studies, in the academics of the school. But environment is much, much beyond that. So it is beyond the chapters and beyond the books we are talking about. Until you stimulate curiosity, until you generate interest, until you add on observation, and until you add the practicality of the subject, you won't be able to generate that interest, which I'm referring into my earlier conversation, interest to understand,
Absolutely.
interest to observe, interest to, then the interest to know more, and then interest to also do conservation protection, and that's what we want them to be, environmentalists. So what we always say in our subjects everywhere and in all the conversation, that it is not important that you opt for environment as your career, as your subject. You can be engineer, you can be a management expert, but you can get to be environmentalist, and that's the whole beauty of it. Then you can infuse environmental ethos, concept, observation, and the doing part of it in your own world.
Yes, absolutely. And I think unless there is an interest which is generated, the sensitivity will not get inculcated in any case. So, what are we trying to achieve? Like,
What are we trying? Yeah, absolutely. What are we trying to achieve? So, what are we trying to achieve? And as environmentalist and as environmental educator or communicator, is to bring that sensitivity into their day-to-day understanding life. Okay, you have maths, wonderful. You do great in science, wonderful. But in the meanwhile, look at nature around you. Conserve your plants, do the plantation, take care of things, put a water pot for birds in the summer. These are all sensitivity. They do not require a separate stream or understanding for you to look at.
absolutely. It's like how you extend yourself and you embrace the environment as a part of your life. Basically, I mean, somewhere I feel, a good mentorship program, if introduced in schools, can also make it more relevant and real world. And maybe, when somebody from outside, I mean, a person who can become a role model like you, if a person interacts with the child in his growing up years, don't you think that stays with the child and it kind of motivates the child to look at that same concept with a different lens?
So I'll come to mentorship concept, and which is a very wonderful concept that you are trying to talk about. And we all feel that now, as we have covered such a long journey, what is that we are leaving behind? How we are, passing, our knowledge to the younger generation. But before that, I think another important aspect that we were trying to also look at is how this, when environmental education became a formal part of the school system. So what are we talking about? The numbers. Look at the numbers that we're talking about. 300 million children in India, who are touching and at least getting a bit of exposure on environmental issues. And we're talking about 1.3 million schools in India talking about that. So these number, and as well as the opportunities with people like us, with people like you, with a lot of organizations who are doing really such wonderful work around. It's very good, that mentorship program that you're talking about, and there's a huge gap altogether. I'm saying, Vaishali, that the mentorship program that you're referring to, it's a great idea. A great idea because there are three levels of stakeholders are there. One is, we're talking about environmental conservationist and organizations who have on environmental issues, who has seen, they have practical orientation altogether, and they have such vast and valuable experience. One is that group. Second group is we are talking about children who are the main receiver of this knowledge. We're supposed to be taking it forward from us. Third, I think a very important program, I think the connect that you need to also do as part of the mentorship program is teachers. I think educators. So another aspect is educators, teachers look at, and the mentorship program for them is also equally important. Now everybody, in fact teachers, they also need to be updated with what's happening. Teachers also need new concepts, they need new skills, new activities, new orientation. And we get so many calls, so much of emails and queries. Okay, look, this is what it is. How do I really take it forward with children? They don't know. They don't know how to go forward with this. Some of them are very, very progressive teachers. Some of them are very progressive schools. But we're talking about 1.3 million schools altogether here.
So don't you think having maybe having children coming over to centers like yours, or getting involved as volunteers in projects over a longer period of time. Suppose it's in the summer break or it is in the winter break, that children could actually get structured formal mentoring and then get integrated and sensitized as far as environmental issues go.
I think you raised another point that we were discussing earlier. Now, our organization, Center for Environment Communication, and we have been working with youth, I think at a very large level. And so youth get fellowships, mentorship, internship with us. And youth, I'm talking about undergraduates and talking about postgraduates. And we have a series of fellowships for them. Now with them, because they are 18 plus, and so we go ahead with them substantially. Now with teachers also we work quite a lot. But here we're talking about directly coming in contact with children who are below 18 we are talking about. And this age group, one is, yes, a very, very important aspect. In fact, we received a couple of communications from schools and from counselors, because there's a very important aspects in your higher studies also if you do substantially contribute in this area. Now, when we got those requests, we went to legal professionals and checked it out. Okay, how is this Child Labor Act is talking about involving? Is it coming under this or is not part of it? But I think we need to define it more. I think that more deliberation is required, because one, there's a need for children to be more acquainted and more get hands-on practical experience. And here these organizations are willing to walk that extra mile. But here there are legalities of its own kind that we need to deliberate and dwell upon more to understand what are the implications. Because obviously this is not a paid program and it's not an exchange of any financial resources. It's an exchange of your knowledge, your experiences, and your enriching, that whatever you have gained in so many years altogether.
Absolutely. And I think we should look at it a little more seriously, because mentorship can actually help our children grow with the skills that are needed to thrive in the 21st century. So,
if I go specifically with the mentorship program, I can share that a lot of mentorship program that has been there, but they are more focused with schools. So with schools and the children under the, with the responsibility of the teacher, the program has been going on, the citizen science program, and a lot more other programs are there. I think another key aspect of mentorship that I see here is parents, because that's what another aspect that we miss. Now, whatever we are talking in schools, and if it is not integrated in your way of life, and it means it's not integrated with your parents and your families and with your immediate family altogether, then it will not sustain. Yes. So I think the mentorship will become very, very relevant and important if we do it outside the school arena also. So when we do outside school arena, so we're talking about offering mentorship programs, and children are trying something different, and parents also part of it. So I'm just saying, I think I'm adding fourth pillar to your mentorship program is parents.
Yes,
so apart from teachers and apart from we're talking about others, we're talking about also parents and other important aspects. So
yes, if parents, I feel, in a child's development, parents play an integral part.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it is way beyond schools. What schools cannot do, parents can do, because it can just be like a weekend thing, just to be like a part of a conservation project. And parents and children can grow together, then it becomes like a family activity. But tell me this, what are the key skills that you look for in an environmentalist?
Key skills in environmentalist. I think for me and for our organization, key skill is willingness. I think willingness is one important thing that we're talking about, the desire, the willingness. And we're talking about the observation skills and patience. Another skill that I'm looking at is patience, because the knowledge, let us keep the knowledge in one side for the time being. Knowledge about the subject, knowledge about nature, field, experiments will come. But what is very, very important that are you interested? Are you willing to go that extra mile or not? Do you think this is additional burden? This is not environment. Oh my God, I have to go for nature camp. Oh my God, I have to go for a butterfly garden setting up. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do plant a tree. Oh my God, those kind of skills. I think nowadays with children, because we have, we are all parents, and how we, work with our children is we give them everything. We try to give them everything, because whatever we had not had in our life early in our childhood, and this is what we give them the best. And we give them the best, the skills that we and the gaps that we knowingly or unknowingly create, and is their interest, their coming forward, and observation skills. I think another important thing is the main gap in environmental issues is, are you willing to do some hard work? Are you willing to go outdoors? Are you willing to get that interest and motivate others? And I think a very, very, very important aspect of your skill gap is you need to be very, very going forward and take initiatives.
Yes, and have empathy.
Compassion, empathy. I think those are all words when it is we're talking about environment. Your compassion, your empathy, your sensitivity, your observance skills, your interest, and your desire to learn. Those are all I think those are the gaps that we see, because we give everything to them all as a package.
Yes.
On a platter as a package. We don't want them to think about it, and the thinking skills. Okay, now this is the situation, what I'm going to do. And when we go to field, we look at very different kind of situations. So there are one example that I like to talk about the skills altogether. Here we were visiting the travel schools in Maharashtra, because we were looking at water sanitation, hygiene issues there. And here there are tribal schools which are fantastic, really, really good. It's called L.I.F.E schools altogether. And then we went to bit interior, and there were some residential tribal schools. It was running it was middle of the village. After 5 in the evening, they get their last meal. Nobody wants to stay. The teachers and wardens are not there, and they're of their own. And they sleep in the same classroom where they're studying on the mats, with no facilities altogether. They don't have bathrooms, they don't have anything. So now here, when I'll take my children, or if let's say I can't take them who I've been mentoring, but at least if I have those pictures, if I have those videos, and if I have the bites and testimonials of all those children, I think that we can connect. And we can create, we're talking about empathy, and this is where we will give them real life experience on building that.
Absolutely. So I think the key take over here is that children need to build the right attitude. And I think that goes for all fields. It's not just about environment. But if a child is building attitude over a period of time, I think that in itself is a very good aspect of education.
So what we always call about, and when we do environment communication, we have these 4 aspects. We have knowledge, attitude, practice, behavior. And we have this, 4 things. And yes, I think as you're rightly saying, it is for every field. But why I'm saying environment, it is more important, because environment can become your career as a profession, and it can become your passion also. And plus you have certain other career altogether in life. So when the environment is so flexible in terms of bringing you in its fold, then I think those 2 is knowledge, attitude, practice, and this becomes essential key ingredient in these skill gaps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alka, for sharing your insights. And I am so enamored by the beautiful work that you're doing. Continue to save the biodiversity of our country. And I hope we leave a better world for our children.
Thank you, Vaishali, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.